Chapter 1: The Forgotten Chest. Alex strolled down the dimly lit corridor, his footsteps echoing against the ancient stone walls of the castle. As the master of this impressive estate, he had explored every nook and cranny. Today, he was accompanied by his beautiful wife, Melanie, who shared his curiosity about the family's ancestral home. "Can you believe, my love, we've been living together here for a few years, but there are still parts of the castle we haven't discovered?" Melanie remarked, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she trailed her fingers along the intricate carvings that adorned the wooden paneling. Alex chuckled, slipping his hand into hers. "This place is full of secrets. I sometimes wonder what kind of history is hiding within these walls." As they turned a corner, Melanie paused, her gaze fixed on a heavy oak door partially obscured by shadows. "What's behind there?" she asked, her voice hushed with anticipation. I'm not sure," Alex admitted, stepping closer to inspect the door. "I don't recall ever going in that room before." With a gentle push, the door swung open, revealing a small, dimly lit chamber. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of sunlight that filtered through the grimy windows, casting an ethereal glow over the room's contents. In the center stood an antique chest, its intricate carvings worn with age. Melanie's eyes widened as she stepped inside, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns on the lid. "Alex, look at this. It's beautiful." Alex followed her, his brow furrowed in concentration as he observed the chest. "I've never seen this before. I wonder how long it's been here, forgotten." Carefully, he knelt beside Melanie and grasped the lid, lifting it with a soft creak. The couple peered inside, only to find the chest completely empty. Melanie's face fell with disappointment. "It's empty?" Alex's expression mirrored hers as he ran his fingers along the smooth interior. "That's strange. There must have been something important in here at one point." He looked up at Melanie, his eyes filled with a newfound curiosity. "We should look into this further. Maybe one of the servants knows something about this chest." Melanie nodded, her mind already whirling with the possibilities. "Or perhaps we could ask our guest, Marfa, when she arrives tomorrow. She seems quite knowledgeable about antiques and the like." A small smile tugged at the corners of Alex's lips. "That's a wonderful idea, my dear. Marfa may be able to shed some light on the history of this mysterious chest." He rose to his feet, offering Melanie his hand. "Come, let's explore the rest of this room. There may be more clues to uncover." As they delved deeper into the hidden chamber, a faint whisper seemed to echo through the shadows, sending a shiver down Alex's spine. Melanie instinctively moved closer to him, her fingers tightening around his arm. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex nodded, his gaze darting around the room. "Yes, I did. It sounded like a voice." He paused, his brow furrowing in thought. "Perhaps it's just the old castle settling, but I can't help but feel like we're not alone in here." Melanie's eyes widened with a mixture of fear and intrigue. "Do you think there's something supernatural about this place?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Alex wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. "I'm not sure, my love, but whatever secrets this castle holds, we'll uncover them together." He pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, hoping to reassure her. "For now, let's head back and prepare for Marfa's arrival. I have a feeling she'll be able to shed some light on this mystery." As the couple exited the forgotten room, the echo of the whispers seemed to linger in the air, hinting at the supernatural forces that were about to be unleashed within the ancient walls of the castle. Chapter 2: Marfa's Arrival. The ancient castle gates creaked open, announcing the arrival of a new guest. Melanie stood at the entrance, a warm smile on her face as she welcomed the elderly woman stepping through. "Welcome, Marfa. We're so pleased you could join us." Melanie's voice was laced with a hint of relief, eager for the seasoned woman's presence. Marfa returned the smile, her kind eyes crinkling at the corners. "Thank you, my dear. I'm delighted to be here." She paused, glancing around the imposing structure. "This is quite the impressive abode you and your husband have inherited." "Yes, it is," Melanie replied, leading Marfa inside. "Alex and I are still discovering all its wonders. In fact, that's part of the reason we invited you to visit." As they walked through the grand foyer, Melanie could sense a shift in Marfa's demeanor. The older woman's gaze seemed to linger on the shadows, her expression growing more pensive. "You mentioned something intriguing in your letter," Marfa said, her voice lowered. "Something you and Alex have been investigating." Melanie nodded, her own excitement and unease evident. "Yes, just yesterday we stumbled upon an old chest in one of the castle's hidden rooms. But when we opened it, it was completely empty." Marfa's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Empty, you say? How very curious." She paused, her lips pursing in thought. "And you believe this chest may hold some significance?" "We're not sure," Melanie admitted, "but the discovery has left us with more questions than answers. We were hoping you might be able to provide some insight, given your expertise with antiques." As they reached the ornate doors leading to the private study, Marfa placed a gentle hand on Melanie's arm, her gaze earnest. "My dear, I will certainly do my best to assist you and Alex, but I must caution you. Sometimes the answers we seek are not always what they seem." Melanie felt a flutter of unease in her stomach, but she nodded resolutely. "We're prepared to face whatever truths may lie buried in this castle's history." With that, Marfa's expression softened. "Then let us begin our investigation, shall we?" The two women entered the study, where Alex stood waiting, his handsome features etched with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Melanie could see the slight tension in his posture, betraying his outwardly calm demeanor. "Marfa," Alex greeted, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming on such short notice. The pleasure is all mine, young man." Marfa's tone was warm, yet there was an underlying note of something else. Melanie couldn't quite place it. "Now, I understand you and Melanie have made a rather intriguing discovery." Alex nodded, leading them to the secluded corner where the mysterious chest resided. "Yes, we found this hidden away in one of the castle's back rooms. It's in pristine condition, but completely empty." As Marfa approached the chest, her expression grew thoughtful. She ran a weathered hand along the ornate carvings, her brow furrowed in concentration. Yes, this is quite a remarkable find." Melanie watched as Marfa's fingers traced the intricate designs, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Do you recognize the workmanship, perhaps?" "I believe I do," Marfa murmured, her voice tinged with a note of reverence. "This chest bears the hallmarks of a master craftsman, one who was well versed in the arcane arts." She paused, glancing up at Alex and Melanie. "Tell me, have you noticed anything unusual since discovering this chest?" Alex and Melanie exchanged a weighted look. "Well, to be honest, we've been experiencing some strange occurrences around the castle lately," Melanie confessed. "Whispers in the hallways, shadows that seem to move on their own, and Alex..." She trailed off, casting a concerned glance at her husband. "I've been having these vivid dreams," Alex admitted, his brow furrowing. "Dreams about my ancestors, as if they're trying to speak to me." Marfa nodded thoughtfully, her gaze growing more intense. "I see. And have you by chance felt any changes within yourself?" Alex hesitated, his fingers flexing unconsciously. "I'm not entirely sure. There have been moments where I've felt a strange awareness, an intuition that I can't quite explain." Melanie watched as Marfa's eyes widened ever so slightly, a hint of understanding dawning on her features. "Fascinating," the elderly woman murmured. She turned her attention back to the chest, her movements becoming more deliberate. "Well, I believe the best course of action is for me to undertake a more thorough investigation of this mysterious artifact," Marfa declared. "With your permission, of course." Alex and Melanie exchanged another look, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, Alex nodded. "Of course, Marfa, we welcome your expertise." Melanie reached out, giving Alex's hand a reassuring squeeze. "We're grateful for your help. There's clearly more to this chest and our home than meets the eye." Marfa's lips curved into a small, almost enigmatic smile. "Indeed, my dear, and I'm quite certain we're about to uncover more than any of us bargained for." That night, as the castle slumbered, Marfa sat cross-legged on the floor of her guest room, an array of arcane items spread out before her. Her brow was furrowed in concentration as she chanted a series of low, rhythmic phrases, her fingers tracing intricate patterns in the air. The shadows in the room seemed to shift and dance, as if responding to the energy Marfa was summoning. Slowly, a faint glow began to emanate from the mysterious chest, pulsing with a tangible power. Marfa's eyes snapped open, a triumphant gleam in their depths. "So, The rumors were true, she murmured, her voice tinged with both reverence and concern. The Everest bloodline has not been extinguished after all. Her gaze drifted to the window, where the full moon cast an eerie glow over the castle's towering spires. Alex, my dear boy, Marfa whispered, the weight of your destiny is about to be revealed. Chapter 3: Shadows in the Hallways. The ancient castle felt different that night. A palpable sense of unease hung in the air, as if the very walls were alive with energy. Alex lay awake in his bed, unable to shake the lingering grip of the unsettling dreams that had disturbed his sleep. In the dimly lit hallway, Melanie paused, her candle flickering as she peered around the corner. She had heard something, a faint whisper, a shadow moving just beyond the reach of the gentle flame. Her heart raced as she strained to discern the source of the disturbance. Elsewhere in the castle, Marfa sat by the fireplace, sipping a cup of fragrant tea. Her weathered features were set in a thoughtful expression as she contemplated the events of the day. The elderly woman had sensed the undercurrent of magic the moment she had stepped through the grand entryway. Now, as the night deepened, she could feel the power thrumming through the ancient stones, as if the very castle itself was alive. Quietly, Marfa rose from her chair and made her way through the deserted corridors, her steps accompanied by the quiet creak of the floorboards. She paused before a set of ornate double doors, her fingertips lightly tracing the intricate carvings. This was where the chest had been discovered, the mysterious receptacle that had caught her attention from the moment she had laid eyes upon it. Closing her eyes, Marfa delved deep into her own well of magical energy, allowing her senses to expand and reach out. The air was thick with the residual traces of power, a faint echo of something ancient and potent. Brow furrowed in concentration, the elderly witch followed the tendrils of energy, tracing their path through the castle's winding passages. Melanie let out a startled gasp as a shadowy figure seemed to materialize in the mirror before her. She blinked rapidly, but the image remained, a flickering, indistinct form that seemed to shift and shimmer in the candlelight. Clutching the candle tighter, Melanie took a step backward, her heart pounding in her chest. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly. "Alex, is that you?" There was no response, save for the eerie silence that settled over the hallway. Melanie swallowed hard, feeling a growing sense of unease. Carefully, she continued down the corridor, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. As Marfa's investigation led her deeper into the castle, she could feel the weight of the past pressing in around her. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper, and the echoes of distant whispers seemed to follow her at every turn. The elderly witch paused, her gaze sweeping over the ornate tapestries and weathered stone walls. This place held secrets, ancient, powerful secrets that had been carefully guarded for generations. Reaching into the folds of her shawl, Marfa withdrew a small leather-bound journal. Flipping through the pages, she scanned the delicate flowing script, searching for any clues that might shed light on the family's history. There were references to a powerful bloodline, to a legacy of magic that had been passed down through the centuries. But the details were frustratingly vague, shrouded in the mists of time. Marfa's brow furrowed in concentration as she considered the implications of what she had discovered. If the chest had indeed contained artifacts of great magical significance, then the forces that had sought to keep them hidden must have been formidable. And if Alex's family was truly descended from a long line of powerful witches, then the young man himself could be in grave danger. Tucking the journal back into her shawl, Marfa quickened her pace, her senses on high alert. She had to find Alex and Melanie, to warn them of the unseen threats that lurked within the castle's ancient walls. In his bedchamber, Alex tossed and turned, his sleep plagued by troubled dreams. Flashes of images danced across his subconscious, a glowing chest, shadowy figures, and the faces of his ancestors, their expressions etched with a strange mix of pride and sorrow. He could feel the weight of their legacy pressing down upon him, a burden he had never known he carried. Suddenly, Alex's eyes snapped open, and he sat up with a gasp, his heart pounding in his ears. The room was dark, save for the faint glow of the dying embers in the fireplace, and for a moment, He thought he saw a flickering silhouette in the corner. Rubbing his eyes, Alex blinked and the figure was gone, leaving him with a growing sense of unease. Melanie hurried through the dimly lit hallways, her candle flickering as she searched for any sign of her husband. The shadows seemed to shift and dance around her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Rounding a corner, she froze, her breath catching in her throat as she caught sight of a dark, amorphous shape hovering at the end of the corridor. "Alex?" she called out, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is that you?" The shadowy form seemed to recoil, then vanished, leaving Melanie alone in the eerie silence. Heart pounding, she continued on, determined to find Alex and make sure he was safe. As Marfa made her way through the castle, she could feel the weight of the past growing heavier with each step. The air was thick with the residual energy of powerful magic, and the elderly witch couldn't shake the sensation that unseen eyes were watching her every move. Pausing before a set of ornate double doors, she took a deep breath and pushed them open, stepping into a dimly lit chamber. The room was filled with the musty scent of ancient tomes and the faint glow of candles. Marfa's gaze swept over the shelves, her fingers tracing the spines of the leather-bound volumes. This must be the castle's library, a repository of knowledge that had been carefully guarded for generations. Closing her eyes, Marfa reached out with her senses, searching for any clues that might shed light on the family's hidden history. The air was thick with the echoes of past rituals, the lingering traces of spells long since cast. And beneath it all, a pulsing undercurrent of power that seemed to emanate from the very walls. Marfa's eyes snapped open, a look of realization dawning on her weathered features. The chest, the strange occurrences, the sense of unease that permeated the castle. It all pointed to something far more significant than a simple mystery. This was a legacy, a hidden power that had been carefully guarded for centuries. And the key to unlocking it, she suspected, lay within the ancient tomes that surrounded her. Steeling her resolve, Marfa began to search the shelves, her fingers tracing the intricate gilded lettering on the spines. She had to find the answers, no matter what obstacles stood in her way. For the sake of Alex and the future of his family, she could not fail. Chapter 4: Whispers of the Past. Marfa's brow furrowed as she pored over the old family letters, the parchment smooth beneath her weathered fingers. Alex and Melanie watched her intently, their expressions a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "These letters," Marfa began, her voice laced with a peculiar gravity. "They speak of a remarkable legacy, one that has been carefully guarded by your ancestors for generations." She looked up, her eyes finding Alex's. "Your family, my dear, has long been blessed with a profound gift, the gift of magic." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine, his breath catching in his throat. Melanie reached out, squeezing his hand reassuringly. "Magic?" Alex echoed, his mind reeling. "But that's impossible. It can't be real." Marfa offered him a gentle smile. "And yet the evidence is right here before us. Your family's history is indelibly marked by the extraordinary." She turned the pages, tracing her fingers over faded ink. "These letters describe a powerful bloodline, one that has wielded arcane abilities for centuries, abilities that have been carefully hidden from the outside world." Melanie leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "But why would they keep such a secret? Wouldn't they want to embrace their heritage?" Marfa's expression darkened. "Ah, my dear, that is where the true mystery lies. It seems your ancestors harbored a deep fear, a fear of the consequences that would come with revealing their powers to the world." Alex felt a knot of unease form in the pit of his stomach. "Consequences? What do you mean?" "The letters speak of a great threat," Marfa replied, her voice lowering to a whisper. "A malevolent force that has long sought to extinguish your family's magical lineage." She paused, her gaze sweeping the room as if sensing unseen eyes watching them. "And it would seem that threat has not been vanquished. The darkness still lingers, haunting these very halls." Melanie's grip on Alex's hand tightened. "You mean there's something dangerous here? In the castle?" Marfa nodded solemnly. "I'm afraid so, my dear. The power that resides within these walls is ancient and formidable, and it will not relinquish its hold easily." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. "Then why are we still here? he asked, his voice tinged with fear. We should leave, get as far away from this place as possible. Marfa's eyes met his, brimming with a steady resolve. I cannot in good conscience advise you to abandon your heritage, Alex. This is your legacy, your birthright, and it is your responsibility to face it, no matter the risk. Melanie looked between the two, her expression torn. But what if we're in danger? What if this threat destroys us? Marfa reached across the table, placing a weathered hand over Melanie's. My dear, I will not deceive you. The path ahead will be fraught with peril. But I believe, with your support and guidance, Alex has the strength to confront the darkness that has haunted his family for generations. She turned to Alex, her eyes conveying a quiet confidence. You are the heir to a remarkable power, my boy. It is time you embraced it, for the sake of your family and for the sake of all those who will come after you. Alex felt a surge of conflicting emotions, fear, doubt, and a nascent spark of determination. He looked at Melanie, seeing the same mix of trepidation and trust reflected in her gaze. He began, his voice wavering. I don't know if I can do this. It's all too much, too overwhelming. Melanie squeezed his hand once more. Alex, whatever happens, I'll be right here with you. We'll face this together. Marfa nodded approvingly. That is the spirit, my dear. United, you will be far stronger than any foe that dares to challenge you. She gathered the letters, her weathered fingers caressing the aged parchment. Now, let us continue our investigation. There is much more for us to uncover about your family's past and the secrets that still linger within these walls. As Marfa rose from her seat, a sudden chill swept through the room, sending a shiver down Alex's spine. The shadows seemed to deepen, and the air grew thick with an unseen presence. Melanie gasped, her eyes darting to the darkened corners of the chamber. Did you feel that? She whispered, her voice trembling. Marfa's expression hardened, her gaze piercing the gloom. Yes, my dear. It would seem our investigation has drawn the attention of the very force we seek to understand. Alex felt a surge of panic rise within him, his heart pounding in his chest. What do we do? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Marfa's eyes met his, reflecting a determination that belied her gentle demeanor. We continue our search, Alex. We must uncover the truth, no matter the cost, for only then can you hope to confront the darkness that haunts your family's legacy. With that, she turned and strode towards the door, her steps measured and resolute. Alex and Melanie exchanged a worried glance before hurrying to follow, the weight of their newfound knowledge and the looming threat pressing heavily upon them. As they stepped into the dimly lit hallway, a soft, eerie whisper seemed to drift through the air, the words indistinct yet laced with a chilling malevolence. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. Melanie reached for his hand, her grip tight. Did you hear that? She murmured, her eyes scanning the shadows. Alex nodded, swallowing hard. Yes, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Whatever is haunting this place, it knows we're getting closer to the truth. Marfa paused, her gaze fixed on the end of the hallway. Then we must be vigilant, she said, her tone grave, for the darkness will not relinquish its hold without a fight. With a deep breath, she pressed on, her steps steady and her resolve unwavering. Alex and Melanie followed, their hearts racing as they ventured deeper into the mysteries that lay within the ancient castle walls. Chapter 5. The Awakening. Alex stared in disbelief as Marfa revealed her true identity as a powerful witch. The sweet, elderly lady he and Melanie had welcomed into their ancient castle was not who she seemed. A chill ran down his spine as he grappled with this startling revelation. I sense a great magical legacy within you, Alex, Marfa said, her voice carrying a newfound weight and authority. Your family's bloodline holds a powerful secret that has been carefully guarded for generations. Melanie squeezed Alex's hand, her eyes filled with concern and a hint of wonder. What does this mean for us, for Alex? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Marfa leveled her gaze at the young couple. It means that Alex has a responsibility to embrace the gifts that have been passed down to him. The chest you discovered contains artifacts of immense power, artifacts that your ancestors sought to conceal from the outside world. Alex felt a surge of panic. Conceal? Why would they do that? And what kind of power are we talking about? He couldn't shake the growing unease that was taking hold of him. Marfa's expression turned grave. Your family's history is steeped in both light and darkness. The chest held the key to unlocking your latent magical abilities, abilities that your ancestor sought to protect by sealing them away. Melanie squeezed Alex's hand tighter, her voice barely above a whisper. Magical abilities. Alex, what is she saying? Alex swallowed hard, his mind racing. I don't understand. How can this be true? I'm just the master of this old castle, not some kind of sorcerer. Marfa raised a hand, silencing his protests. The signs have been there all along, Alex. The strange occurrences, the whispers in the shadows, they are all connected to the power that flows through your veins. As if on cue, a sudden gust of wind swept through the room, causing the candles to flicker and the shadows to dance. Alex felt a surge of energy coursing through him, a tingling sensation that seemed to hum with untapped potential. Melanie's eyes went wide, her grip on his hand tightening. Alex, your eyes, they're glowing. Alex stared down at his hands, watching as a faint, ethereal light began to emanate from his fingertips. Panic gripped him, but underneath the fear, he could sense a growing curiosity, a yearning to understand the nature of this power that had lain dormant within him. Marfa stepped forward, her expression solemn yet encouraging. This is your heritage, Alex. The time has come for you to embrace it, to learn how to wield the gifts that have been passed down to you. Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he grappled with the implications of Marfa's words. But what if I can't control it? What if I end up hurting someone? The thought of his newfound abilities spiraling out of control filled him with dread. Melanie moved closer, her eyes filled with a mixture of awe and determination. We'll figure this out together, Alex. I'm here for you, no matter what. Marfa nodded, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Melanie is right. With the proper guidance, you will learn to harness your powers and use them to protect those you love. Alex looked back and forth between the two women, his mind swimming with questions and uncertainty. But as he gazed into Melanie's unwavering eyes, he felt a surge of resolve. If he was destined to become the keeper of this ancient magical legacy, he would not face it alone. All right, he said, his voice steadying. Teach me what I need to know, Marfa. I'm ready. Marfa's smile widened, and she gestured for them to follow. Then let us begin your journey of self-discovery, Alex. There is much for you to learn. As they made their way through the winding corridors of the castle, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. But with Melanie by his side and Marfa's guidance, he was determined to confront the mysteries of his family's past and embrace the power that had been entrusted to him. The air seemed to crackle with energy, and Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the ancient castle walls were watching, waiting to see how he would navigate this unexpected turn of events. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew he would face them head-on, ready to uncover the truth and fulfill his destiny.